Okay, so I was bored today, so I decided I'd try to make a wood gas stove, which is something I wanted to try in the past, but since I'm bored, I wanted to try to do it. So I found these two tins. I'm sure they're not as good as the cans that food comes in, but they'll probably work for me to try it out. So first thing I'm going to do is cut. I put this can up here and I traced around it, and now I'm going to cut around there so that can fits in there with my Leatherman. So we'll see how that looks. Okay, there it is with the hole cut out. So I'm going to try to cut some holes in this guy and then fit this in there. Hopefully it works. Okay, now I'm cutting holes in the bottom of the inner can. With my Leatherman, you have to be very, very careful. You could cut your fingers. Okay, and there are all the holes cut in the bottom of the can using my Leatherman only. So now I'm going to cut holes. I think you need holes here around the bottom edge and holes around the top edge. Okay, so here are the holes I'm cutting in the bottom part of the can with my Leatherman. Okay, so here's all my holes on the bottom lip, bottom edge of the can, and the very bottom of the can. So now I'm going to put holes up here near the top. Okay, here I am cutting the holes in the top, so it's already got holes on the bottom and on the very bottom. I left the lid on this tin for structural rigidity, so that when I try to push this in, it wouldn't collapse. I'm going to take this lid off later. Okay, so what I'm using to make this rocket stove, or this gas stove, excuse me, wood gas stove, is a coconut chai black tea, looks like Zena gypsy tea tin, and a coffee tin from Eco Reef, my Leatherman, and I used a pink Sharpie to draw the thing on the top. Okay, so the inner chamber is done. Got holes on the very bottom, holes close to the bottom, then holes close to the top. I've taken the tin lid off because that is going to fit in here. So now what I have to do is I have to cut holes along the bottom here. Okay, so I have my holes in the bottom of this outer chamber that I put in with my Leatherman. I left this top on again for structural rigidity when I'm carving my holes in the bottom with my Leatherman. I didn't want it to collapse. So the next thing is to fit this in here tightly. So wish me luck on that. Okay, the inner chamber fits in there, but not quite as tightly as I wanted. Kind of slops around, so I may go downstairs and look for something to seal this up. Got some high temp silicone. I don't know if that'll work. I also need some way to have a pot rest on here. I was thinking about putting screws in here on the edges, but that might leak. So we'll see what I come up with next. So far, two tins, a coffee tin and a tea tin, my Leatherman, and a pink Sharpie is what I've used to make this. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but I didn't quite get that edge tight enough. So I've got some ideas, but what I'm going to try to do first is bend that back with my knife to make it tighter. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm taking my knife and I'm pushing these sides in around this inner chamber to make it a more tight seal. Okay, so I went back and I pushed this lip in around the can, and it seems tight now. Sure, it's not absolutely sealed, but I want to try it like it is because the idea is to make this with as little tools as possible. And I've done this with two tins and my Leatherman and a marker, which is not really necessary. I could put some high temp silicone around there like I said, but I want to try it without. I was thinking in the field, if you made this with two tins and a Leatherman, you could use clay mud around that lip to seal it up. Mix some clay mud with grass and then squish it around there. Would make a nice tight seal, and that might seal it up. Okay, what makes this unique, if it actually works, is that I've got these two tops here. I've got this top here that I can take off if I want to clean the ashes out of there. And the whole inner chamber comes out. I don't know if it's going to work as good as the ones you see online because these are made out of cans that food come in. They're a little thicker. But I was thinking for a pot holder what I could do is I could put this on there and cut holes in the sides all around the edge. So this is still supported, but it lets the gas out of there, or the smoke out of there, and the pan gets to sit right on top of that. Okay, so like I said, what I'm trying to do is cut around. I'm going to cut all this around here, and then I'm going to try to put some holes in the sides. And that's going to be my pot holder, I think. Okay, so one thing I did before I started cutting this top is I took this whole thing out of there and set it on the table so that when I'm trying to push the knife in here, this didn't go squishing down through there. Makes it a little easier to work with. Okay, so here we are with the center cut out. If this doesn't work, I can always take this lid off and try something else. Okay, so I'm using my knife to cut little holes in there. Not little holes, actually, big holes. I want lots of them. And I want them to be big to not impede any of the exhaust. So I'm going to cut holes all around here and we'll see how it works. Okay, so there it is. There's all my holes. So now it's time to push this lip back up and pop it in there and try it out, I think. Okay, here it is with the pot sitting on top. I'm going to use a smaller pot. I'm going to use one of my aluminum camping pots. But if it can't boil water, then it's not good for anything. If it just burns by itself, then it's useless. A stove should be able to cook things, right? Boil water, cook things. So I'm going to take it outside and try it. I've never used one of these before, so I don't know what it's going to do. I imagine when I light it, I'm going to take this pot holder off, put some sticks in there, light it, put this back on, and see how it goes. I think perhaps I didn't have enough oxygen in the burn. It's an awful lot of smoke, but I can fix that. My battery's about to run dead, but I can tell you this burns a whole lot better than it did a minute ago. So, like I said, key is if it'll actually do anything, so I'm going to put the pot on a little bit. But it's burning a lot hotter, or quicker, rather. Okay, that is off the charts. When you get those lines like that, it means it's over 400 degrees. Over 402, it said for a minute. Wow, nice. Okay, I can tell you the pot did not smother it. It's still burning. Although not as hot. Okay, new technique. Since the other way seemed to smother everything, I took some copper pipe and a pipe cutter. Hopefully you can see that. And I cut little rings of copper. So I'm going to set the pan on like that. Hopefully it won't smother it out and I'll be able to feed it. See what happens. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but I can see some jets of flame coming around the edges. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's doing a little bit. Hopefully you can see that over on the edge there. Maybe not. I definitely see some wood gasification. Okay, I've just put the pot on. It's definitely not smothering anything. Hopefully I can feed it from underneath here without putting it out. Okay, that water's boiling after about 10 minutes. Might have been boiling a little sooner. It's a nice boil. So I think that's a success. Okay, I decided the way I was supporting that pot didn't work. Those little copper rings, excuse me, kept falling in there. And then one time I burnt my fingerprints off trying to get them out. So I took that, the thing that was the lid for the T10, and I cut it up into this ugly mess. Okay, like I said, it's not pretty, but it does sit on there. So that way I can take it off, put it on without these little rings falling in there. Except if I want to feed it, I can just take it off, put a stick in there, and then put this back on. I can come up with a better holder for it, for sure. I can put machine screws in there with little nuts so that it can sit on there. But I want to try to make it with as little amount of tools as I could. So to make that, I used my Leatherman, and I used these old kitchen scissors.